Hi, and welcome to our Vitality Chats. Today we have the special honor of interviewing Dr. Erin Rosen, who is also our daughter and an accomplished chiropractor who practices in Concord, Massachusetts. She holds a degree in kinesiology. She has been a competitive gymnast, and she actually embodies the chiropractic principle and principle lifestyle. And we are honored and excited to have her here with us today.
Yes, welcome, Erin. We're really excited to be interviewing you and highlighting your amazing accomplishments and all the things that you have done. Erin knows our work inside and out, having been one of our experiments from the moment she was born. So you'll often see her pictures in our books and in our videos because Erin knows our work from the inside as well as practicing it herself. So welcome, Erin. We're so happy to have you with us today. Would you like to briefly introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me. I'm Dr. Erin. Many of you do know my face in different times of my life because I was born and raised in chiropractic. It is inside of me from a different form than many other people I've met. I am Marty and Nancy's second daughter, so they actually had already been studying a lot of this when I came along. So I think they learned it on me, but I do have another gift of kinesthetic motion and kinesthetic memory that I've had since the day I was born. I was on stage in my first dance show at 18 months old. So I understand their work and anything else that I have learned and practiced with my hands from a deeper level. And that truly just brings trust in the work that I do. And probably the last thing I do is second guess myself. And that makes it a lot easier to work with people so I can just explain to them how chiropractic and me are here to help. And that's all I want to do.
It's so true, Erin. You are amazing, and we know firsthand from your patients and all the work that you do. But you mentioned that you are a second daughter. So our first daughter did not choose chiropractic. So how did you pursue a degree and decide to become a chiropractor?
Well, it's one of those internal decisions. I don't know if I chose it or if it was just where I was supposed to go. I did decide from a very young age that trusting the body and the body's ability to heal itself is what we are based off of, and I believed that from my first memories. It didn't really matter what happened to me externally, whether it was a cut or an allergic reaction to poison ivy, or if I was at gymnastics and I did end up with severe injuries.
Like breaking a bone
had,
and stuff.
yeah, I honestly was never scared because I understood chiropractic and health outside of just the adjustment from an early age. So when I was a young gymnast, though I was very good and excelled where I was at, I still have memories of my teammates and seeing that they couldn't understand how to do the move that I was doing as well. And we would spend time together that I was just teaching them that. And then probably one of my fondest early learning memory types things is with a family member of a family friend of ours, and her second daughter really just had no cross crawl patterns. And for whatever reasons, I already knew at that age, you guys probably know better. I was probably in my early teens, maybe younger. And I understood how much she could do and wanted to do, but her body didn't understand that motion. And I took her in a pool and took her swimming, and the lessons that had been given to me all my life were deeply embedded in my body. And I decided she was going to learn how to swim today, and she was going to get out of the pool learning across patterning. So I just kept doing that my whole life. And I've struggled with whether or not I made the right choices, not from a personal level, but solely from a political professional level. I think all professions have extreme toxicity, but I tried to get away from chiropractic. I went to business school first. And let's just say I have some very fond friends from that time, but the corporate business world is not something I'm interested in playing with. And I just went back to kinesiology as well as my advanced yoga trainings at that time. And it just all got deeply embedded in me, and I had nothing else to do other than share it.
I think that's so true. It's one of our core values for both of raising both of you, and also how we see our profession is to accent your strengths and your kinesiology and all of your body awareness was evident to us from a very, very early age. So
We also find that we hear a lot from people who are really dedicated to the art of chiropractic and in the profession to helping people that maybe the profession, they didn't quite choose it. Maybe it chose them. There's a little piece of that. We always try and deviate off our path a little bit, and then something pulls us back, like even in practice when we start to maybe get bored and learn a different technique and get pulled back to those baseline techniques and baseline understanding what chiropractic is. So yeah, it's a story we do often hear, and we actually watched you go through that story for many, many years, but it was quite a
Yeah.
journey. Yep.
No, I ran really hard. I mean,
You
my
did.
father may remember or not, but I tried to put my foot down after getting my kinesiology degree, and spending time at that college was very medically based, has some
Right.
really advanced research. And I just was like, I have to get an MD degree before I get my DC degree, not because I want to be a medical doctor, Dad, but because of the politics of the world. This is the only way I'll be safe. And he guided me away from spending all of that time doing that and spending hours reading prescription drugs. And I appreciate that now. But yes, it is a journey that it's also a profession. Yes, there's a million techniques, there's a million ways to do it, but it's not based off that. It's based more off the art and philosophy, as far as I'm concerned. And once that is inside you and you understand how the body can function, and how, I mean, the biggest impact for me that has saved my chiropractic career many times was one of Major DeJarnette's quotes. And the I won't say this is the full quote, but the meaning of it was that if all I had to do was enter the room of my patient with a clear heart and clean hands. And there were times it was just hard for me to practice, and I would go into the bathroom before each patient. And if I could look at myself and remind me of that, I knew I could go in the room and take care of the patient. And that propelled me forward.
That's really beautiful, Erin.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's also,
Yeah.
that's a great mantra.
It's a very great
Yeah,
one.
great mantra. Yeah,
So-
many great mantras, but
Yeah.
that was
I do. They keep me going as long as they stay positive.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, Erin, you grew up in the profession. There are so many young chiropractors out there who have not had that advantage. Is there something that you could share from your experience that will keep them motivated? What's the thing that keeps you going? I mean, obviously, the results you get, the people that you touch, that's a very personal thing. But talking to other chiropractors, like, what could you share with them? Like saying, this is the thing that, from my experience, that makes the
and
difference.
especially kind of those young chiropractors who
Mhm.
don't have the basis in the philosophical constructs of chiropractic that sometimes get frustrated. What is it? Because I know that you get frustrated sometimes too, and I get frustrated, though less as the years go on. But yeah, with that, kind of speak to that, what, gets you back up on the horse, like, so to speak.
Yeah. I've had many people cross my path that were trying to study chiropractic, to even other, we call ourselves chiro kids. So if you were born to chiropractors,
Sure.
other chiro kids. And it's so much more about being connected to it by being adjusted and practicing what you are learning. Now, what I tell everybody from the day I was in school was just keep practicing it. Now, people get scared about that because they think they're practicing the correction. They think they're practicing, did I fix this person? But if you can remove that from your brain, especially in your early years, and realize you're practicing how your hands connect to another person, you're practicing how you discover all of these indicators from whatever place you find them, but they have to make sense into your head, how they're connecting, as to why you then go make that adjustment. And that is not going to come from repeated force or repeated soft touch holding, whichever way you choose to go. And I had some friends in school. I basically made my house the study house. I had I was blessed with so many old technique manuals that nobody had seen, but I also got videos of a lot of different things for people to understand the body. And though a lot of that was for me, because that's just how I like to learn, if I could get anybody to come and just join, because it is easier to talk about things when you're learning it with another person than sit alone and learn it. But once you're in a group and people are connecting as to why does this make sense and why doesn't this make sense, and let's try it again. It has to come to, let's try it again. I have many stories of, linchpin miracle version adjustments, but I do not ever walk out of that adjustment room feeling a huge burst of adrenaline that like I did something. I don't feel that until I get a message or an email or an appointment from that person again. And I realize I did turn on something inside of them that understands their body can improve no matter what is there. And you just have to keep repeatedly experiencing that. I think young doctors get overwhelmed by what's out there. Honestly, if you're so overwhelmed in one of the technique classes because they're naming all the bones to adjust and all that, my first suggestion is to go back to your anatomy book, or in my version, I had an anatomy coloring book, and just start reminding yourself where in the body things are and why they're connected to something else. And it will wake up in you if you do that. Otherwise it's a business model. You know, a lot of people can do that. You'll pick up a technique and you'll follow that along. But that's a little bit of our in my opinion, that's a little bit of the chiropractic culture selling out to the other side of, you know, I'm not there to treat symptoms. The one more shorter version of a story I've been shocked with now because I've heard this over and over from my patients. The biggest thing that people find comfort in me is there's not really anything you can tell me from a health perspective that shocks or surprises me.
Mhm.
And so I've had very, very older patients sit down and tell me the list of symptoms and diseases they are listed with and the drugs that they are currently on. And everyone says that my return response is, okay, so and I didn't even know that for years. And they've told me that that's completely shifted their mind. And to just explain what that comes from for me is I just don't care what that list is. I do believe that the body is here and is created to exist on the planet. We don't get to pick the amount of time, but we get to pick the way that's done. I always exist with quality over quantity. There is no way that that can change how we exist as people on the planet. And so if you can just spread the veil for some people and yourself to understand that chiropractic is just there to guide people in trusting and feeling better in their body and their world. It's not here to, you know,
So,
create or fix health.
so what it sounds like you're saying too, especially to these young chiropractors when they get frustrated, is the two things, the two pieces I got out of what you just said is to number one, keep learning, keep studying, stimulating your mind that way. And the second thing is to look at a bigger picture, not to get narrow, not to get that narrow focus on that. Oh, the headache didn't go away, the back pain didn't, but keep the chiropractic picture big and to keep studying. And that's how you keep yourself motivated. And I think that's what I see, you know, we've seen in you over the years too, is that you're always studying, always learning. And I think that's an important, and I kind of have that process too. And I know your mother does. Keep learning, keep getting motivated by not just an external process, but the internal process of learning, finding the connections and keeping the picture bigger.
But I think one of the things I get from what you said is to allow the people to be who they are. They come in, and I think sometimes people just,
Mm.
you know, they live their story. Oh, look at me, I have this and this. And for you just
Yeah.
to hold the space of seeing them as a person that's able to heal, that there's some way that you're going to connect to their nervous system and to their healing ability, and doesn't matter what their story is. And
Sure.
that creates a space for profound change. And we certainly know that that happens in your practice because we've witnessed it, and we hear the stories secondhand from the people that see you. So we're so happy to share this for those people out there who have not quite got there yet. Like to trust yourself, like to find a way. Like for us, we teach technique. We try to teach people indicators so that when a body's in front of you, that you have a map into their nervous system, that there's something that they're communicating through, not what you're second guessing. They're telling you what they need. And if you have that ability to read their nervous system, to follow their indicators, then you can trust the process. And I think that's what you are expressing and what you really embody from literally your years of studying. We can attest to that. This did not happen this happened long before chiropractic school, long before undergraduate. Your years of studying the dissection basement, the curiosity that you expressed to understand.
Let's be clear, those dissections were not live people that went back down.
Maybe.
But to add to that, that never changed in me because in chiropractic school, we had a dissection lab class, and two things happened in that class for me. First off, my teacher saw how fascinated I was with the body and quickly offered me teacher's assistant or some job where I came in and prepared the cadavers for the classes. So I could go in for as many hours as I want and dissect, clean the any area of the body. Of course, you guys know I do have a deep connection to feet because I've had multiple foot fractures and had to heal from that. So I spent hours learning where and how bones moved in the foot and what connected them just because it was offered to me. The other thing about the trust and trusting your hands, you're right. This was deeply embedded in me. And when I started learning, especially SOT, because that was around me my whole life, it was so different to hear the cognitive learning process of what I was seeing when I could, because of my kinesthetic motion patterns, I could visualize my father adjusting me while they were saying that. I could visualize that's what he was doing along those indicators. Now that can swing in multiple ways. I think it's about following along with that if as a familiarity and just kind of going with it. Or you can use that to your advantage if you have the opportunity of someone with a little more advanced technique and ask kind of what's showing up. But my professor in that class one day came to me and said, well, I know your parents are chiropractors, so you must know how to adjust. And I had actually never adjusted, in my opinion. Of course, my hands had been on anybody that offered, me to explore their body and see how if I could make their muscles work better. I said, no, I don't know. I've never adjusted. And he's like, well, yeah, but you know how to do this. And I said, he goes, I need my neck adjusted. And I was like, how is this the first time I'm being asked this? He goes, just come with me after class. We'll go in the other lab room and you can do it on one of the lab tables. I don't even know. This was when I knew the trust was on in me. I followed him in there and after class, and he's like, I'm not even going to say anything. You know what to do. And of course, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to adjust this person. I start doing cervical stair step repeatedly on him, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be fine. He's like, just go, Erin, just go for it. And within the next moment, I put my hands, I adjusted him in whatever familiar motions I knew. And of course, he's like, check the other side, make sure what's going on. I do that. I honestly don't know what was turned on in my brain in that day. That's as far as I remembered. But I knew at that moment that my trust in my hands existed. And that's all that mattered. That comes from practice. That comes from using it. That doesn't come from anything else.
And the good news is if you had blown it there, you were right next to the dissection lab, so you could have just moved the body over there, taking care of it.
Exactly. I was covered.
Yeah,
Insurance.
you were covered. So that gave you a sense of, comfort and calmness.
Well, I really love this conversation with you. We certainly know your gifts and all of your amazing stories, and we're grateful that we're going to get to share this with everybody. So, in thinking about this, Erin, is there one memorable experience that you'd like to share? You've shared so many already that are memorable, but is there something else that?
Well, something that you'd like to, kind of codify everything you just talked about, just to give people listening, that as you sum everything up, something that
Yeah.
keeps you motivated, yeah, you know what I want.
Yeah, I know what you guys are talking about. Well, these are my least favorite things to talk about because when they're this impactful, I become very emotional, and that's not something I do in front of people. But I would say that I actually, one of my oldest patients and one of my youngest patients both impact me in the same way. And during times, even COVID, and times where I really didn't know if I was going to be able to ever practice again for personal reasons, these two patients allowed me to keep going. And one of them is a child, so actually was a patient of my father's before. He's a twin, and he I take care of their whole family now and everything, but he has a lot of disabilities and is home all the time or in a special school. And it was interesting to start taking care of him because I had actually already witnessed him under my father's care, like back when I used to take your notes and things like that, because I just wanted to follow you around. And when things were getting really, really tough, these people just kept reaching out to me and being like, hey, are you going to be able to help us? Are you going to be able to help us? And what I actually was able to offer at this time was home visits. And so I went to these people's houses, and it really didn't matter what space I was in or anything else was in when I walked into the room with these two patients, the joy that existed in them, the boy is not able to express in verbal words, so that's a different experience. But the older man, who sometimes literally lived on the couch, would perk up and be ready to start trying to walk with me again, because that's my favorite thing to do in that situation. And it was just the reminder in my head of why I'm here on the planet. It is to help people. I don't directly connect it to chiropractic. It is just the gift that I was born into and have never stopped learning. But it's about creating that trust bond and connection with people that is there no matter what. I don't share the same philosophies and health things with either of these families. If we were going to go off into political conversations, I know they might be uncomfortable with my beliefs in certain areas, but as you
I would
mentioned
bet on
before,
that.
but you mentioned before, what I was talking about is that I do not walk into a room with a patient with any judgment or need for them to be a part of my life or be a part of my beliefs.
Mhm.
I am there to make their life better in that moment, and I know chiropractic will do it. You watch their bodies on the table change. You watch them.
Yep.
I say to them, you cannot yearn for me as a doctor, because you have to be independent in your own life, and that changes things for them.
Mhm.
They don't send you the emergency calls. They may send you a message telling you what's going on in their life, but now they believe that I'm there to help them. I'm not saving them. And those probably were the biggest turning points for me.
That's cool.
So
That's really cool.
So that's so powerful, Erin. It's interesting because one of the first vitality checks we did, it was somebody who's been in practice longer than us and still practices. And when we asked him, how do you do this? Why do you do this? And it's just exactly what you said. It's like when you realize that in your hands, that you have the power to make someone's life better, it's hard to stop that. There's really not going to be much else in your life that's going to impact you that way. So I think that you've said that and you're embodying that. We certainly know firsthand the amazing work that you do. We're so proud of you, Erin. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for taking the time to join
Yes,
us.
yes. And we're looking forward to sharing this with everybody so everyone can see and know more about you. So
All right, everyone can keep track. This is my face in 2025. It's changed in a few
will
decades.
change.
It will change. She has a morphology in her face that does allow it to
My
adapt.
sutures still move in some areas.
They do.
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot, Erin. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.